Hello everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome to another video. So it's time for our very first tutorial of 2022 and I'm excited. So we're going to do the estate necklace. So I've been wanting to do this for a long time. It's taken me a while to design this because I just didn't want it to be all just the same component, which you can just connect all the same components and do that. I wanted it to be a little different, but I wanted it to look really pretty with the bracelet, the earrings, and the ring. And I wanted to use an 18 by 25 millimeter pear or teardrop fancy stone. Isn't that gorgeous? Absolutely adore this stone. I think it fits perfectly with the design. So I was looking around for the stone and I contacted Eureka Crystal Beads and asked them if they carried them, and they sent me a bunch. So that was really nice of them. Thanks, guys. So here I want to show them to you. This is this color. I'm in love with this color. It is gorgeous. And of course all the colors will be linked down below to what I make today. This gorgeous sort of blue with the purple around it. I'm just in love with this color. So just to show you the difference, they sent me a 20 by 30 millimeter. Here's the 18 by 25, and this is an oval, but it's a 13 by 18 millimeter. So this is kind of in the middle between these two. And I think it's a perfect size. We will do this one as well. It's a big one, and we will bezel this, but I think this is so wearable, this 18 by 25, and it's such a beautiful stone. They sent me a bunch of others too. Look at those little elongated teardrops. It's kind of neat, right? And a few other, some cushion cuts. And oh, they also sent me some true twos. So this necklace has used this stone and the true two 2 millimeter fire polished beads, along with, of course, a ton of other things. So we have this beautiful double CRAW chain. And now, stay with me, because if you are an adventurous beginner, if okay, I'll try anything, you can do this, because I'm going to separate everything into sections. So one section is going to just be on the chain. One is going to be just connecting the units. One is just going to be on this bezel. So everything will be separated. So each technique is in of itself not difficult. It's just putting everything together that makes it a little harder. So I say go for it if you're an adventurous beginner, you're an intermediate, easy, you'll be able to do this. It's a long video because we're doing a lot of stuff. So let me see if I've forgotten anything. I don't think so. Well, let me just show you the back of it real quick. The back is completely finished. So I beaded on the back here with pearls just to keep it off your skin. You don't have to. You can always use that coating, that you can buy on bead websites. But I really like doing that little beading on the back. It just, I don't know, it just makes it look so pretty. And here, this one, I adore this one. This one, depending on the beads you use and the stones, can be very casual looking, where this can be much more fancy. Now, I'd wear this every day anyway, but this one, white shirt and a pair of jeans in the summer, you look gorgeous. All right, I'm going to clear this off and we're going to get a materials list going and get started. I just wanted to say one thing more, and I know it's a long intro. I want to thank you so much for your comments on the slideshow. I mean, really, the slideshow was all you. I mean, you guys are amazing, and you put in so much work, and you created such beautiful pieces. Like, I'm so touched, and I'm so thrilled, that you enjoyed the videos enough to make all those gorgeous pieces. So thank you so much. I may have planted a couple of seeds, but you guys grew that garden, and that was amazing as usual. All right, so I'm going to clear this off and we're going to get started. Okay, let's get a materials list going. So first off, you're going to need 3 already bezeled estate bezels. Now, this is the only thing we're not going to bezel on this video. We've done this 3 times. So I'm going to put a link in the description box below the video. The very first thing at the top of that description box is going to be a link to the estate. Well, I'll put links to the estate bracelet, earrings, and ring. You can choose whichever one you want to make the bezel from, because we did the bezel 3 times already. So you remember, go to that video, make 3 of them. So here are the 3 undone, here are 3 done. So make 3 of them and then come back to this video to make your necklace. So we need 3 of those. You need your 20 by 5 by 18 millimeter pear or teardrop. Gorgeous. So this is, this is the one that, the other one that I made. Here's that gorgeous blue one. And I have this, the one I'm going to make today is going to be using this green opal stone. Now, this was gifted to me by a very, very sweet viewer. And I did try to find, you know, I looked in the different websites where it came from, and I can't find this color in this size at the moment. So you might want, if you want this color, you'll have to, you know, do a little searching. Now I know Potomac Beads has it in white in this size, but I did not see it in the green opal. But you might be able to find it somewhere. But I mean, hello, just gorgeous. They're all gorgeous. 2 colors of Delicas. I have a metallic and a color. 15-0 seed bead. 3mm bicone. 4mm bicone. You don't need much of the bicones. Of course, everything will be listed down below. You know, amounts, everything. 11-0 seed beads, you will need a lot of those. A 3mm pearl, you'll need a 5mm pearl, just a couple, and a few 6mm pearls, and you'll need the True 2 fire polished bead. That's going to be, you know, you just need a few of them for this bezel. We've got a clasp here. I'm using a toggle clasp. I've got a little piece of chain, Rolo chain, a few jump rings, size 10 and 12 beading needles, 8-pound Fireline. You can use dragon thread here, and super important, you can find this. This is a little bead reamer. Look at that. So you can buy these at Joann's or Michael's. You can get it online or go to the store, and they come, I think, 3 or 4 to a pack in different sizes, and this is what we're going to use to hold our seed beads when we do our cubic right angle weave chain. And you're going to be amazed at how easy it makes it having something to put your beads on. So if you happen to have one of these, or toothpick, something that will fit at the end of a little right angle weave unit so you can hold it while you're doing your craw, is really helpful. I mean, it's not necessary, but it's really helpful. So if you can find something like that, that would be great. Let's see, anything else? Stop bead, which I forgot to put out. Anything else I'll put in the description box below the video. So don't forget to click the down arrow on the show more. You know the drill. Everything is down there. All right, so I'm going to clear this off, and we're going to get started. Okay, let's get started. So thread your needle with about 3.5 feet of thread. Put on a stop bead, and right in the middle. So we'll use both the threads. So I've picked up and dropped down to my stop bead, 54 Delicas, and I've alternated my colors. I started with a green, and I ended with a gold. I'm going to sew those into a circle. I'll sew through the first Delica after my stop bead, which is that green one. Now we're just going to peyote. Picking up a gold Delica, coming out of the green, skipping the next gold, sewing through the next green, making sure that pops up on the previous bead, picking up a gold, and if you're alternating, all you have to do is sew through the green, pick up a gold, sew through the green. If you're all one color, just picking up a bead, skipping a bead, sewing through the next bead. Gonna do that all the way around, and then we'll step up. All right, time for the last Delica and stepping up. So here I'm picking up my gold Delica, I'm exiting the green, skipping the gold, going to sew through this green one and then the gold one on the diagonal. And now I'm all stepped up and I'm ready to put some more beads on. So we're going to go one more round of Delicas. So we're going to use the green ones now. So we're exiting the gold bead. I'm going to sew through each sticking out gold Delica with a green bead. So here, green one, green one. So just do that all the way around and then we'll step up. Okay, just back for a second. So as I'm going around with this round of Delicas, I'm pulling inward a little bit with and having my thumbnail is right there. So you see how it's sort of curving a little bit? So you can do that to sort of help it along. All right, see you at the end. Okay, it's time to step up. So I'm going to pick up my green Delica, exiting the gold, going to sew through this gold, and then the green one on the diagonal. So now I have that round done. Just going to give it a little tug, and we're going to start adding 15-0s. So picking up a 15-0 and sewing through each, sticking out Delica, like that. So do that until you have about 10 of your 15-0s on, and then come back and we'll continue. Okay, I've put on about 10, 12 of my 15-0s. Now, what I'm going to do at this point is I'm exiting a Delica. Instead of putting a 15-0 here, I'm just going to sew right through the next Delica with my needle and thread. That's going to be the place where we're going to put the point of our stone. So you just sort of skipped putting a bead there. And then we're just going to continue on with our 15-0s until we get to the end, and then we're going to step up. All right, so I'll let you do that. So keep going all the way around, and you're going to have that one spot where you don't have a 15-0. All right, so come to the end, and then we'll step up together. Okay, down to the end, and we're going to step up with our last 15-0. So here, picking up a 15-0, I'm exiting this green Delica. I'm going to sew through this green Delica, and then the 15-0 on the diagonal. Just step up. And what I did here is, you see where the space is? I just kind of pushed it in a little bit to make it into the shape I want. See? So you can kind of do that. And then, whoops, we're going to add some more beads. So let's just pick up another 15-0. I'm going to put a 15-0 in between each sticking out. 15-0, and you're going to do that all the way around. Like that. And when you get to the top where that space is, you're just going to be exiting this 15-0. Just jump over to this one. Put a 15-0 right here. So you're going to just put a 15-0 in between each sticking out 15-0. So don't skip anything. Just one 15-0 all the way around. And then I'll see you at the end. Back for just a second. So here I am where I have my space. So all I'm doing is picking up a 15-0. I'm just going to sew through the next 15-0. And giving that a little pull. Do you see what happens? How it pulls it in? All right, and then you're just going to keep adding 15-0s until we get to the end. All right, so I'll see you at the end of this round. Okay, coming down to the end, I'm putting on my last 15-0. So exiting here, I'm going to sew through this 15-0 and then the one on the diagonal. And there you have. This side is pretty much complete. I'm going to leave this thread. So this is going to be the back of our bezel. I'm going to leave that thread, and I'm going to come to the other side. I'm going to take off the stop bead and thread my needle. So do that, come back, and we'll start this. All right, so I've threaded my needle. I've taken off the stop bead, threaded my needle, and if you notice, our thread is exiting this bead right here, this green one. So you want your thread coming out of, you want to put beads here, so you need to move this thread over. So exiting here, just going to sew right through this gold one. Now my thread is where I want it to be. All right, so I'm going to take my stone and I'm going to place it in. So notice where my point is going? Right up at the top. See where those two gold Delicas are? And if you look on the back, it's where, you know, that little space, you know, where we didn't put a seed bead. So that's sort of a little, we made a little pocket for our stone. It's not going to stay yet, but you can hold it with your thumb and forefinger and just make sure that you have it in like so. So here now I have to get to my thread as over here. You can adjust it as we go a little bit. So now we're going to add 15-0s on this side. So we're just going to pick up a 15-0 and sew through each sticking out Delica like this. And we're going to do that all the way around, not skipping anything. We're just going to put one bead in between each sticking out Delica. So a 15-0 through the Delica, 15-0 through the next Delica, and so on. So just get all the way around and meet me at the end and we'll step up. All right, we're ready to step up. So I'm picking up my 15-0, exiting this Delica. I'm going to sew through this Delica and then the 15-0 on the diagonal. Like that. That's what I have. Now just be sure at this point that your point of your stone is right under this Delica up here. It's kind of a, you can see the facet right here of the stone. Make sure it's just right up there. All right, so now we're going to add another round of 15-0s. And you're going to do the exact same thing you just did. You're not going to skip anything. You're just going to put one 15-0 in between each sticking out. 15-0 all the way around. Okay, so meet me at the end and then we'll step. Okay, we're back, so let's step up. So exiting that 15-0 right here. I'm going to sew through this 15-0 and this one on the diagonal. One more round and then you're done. So put another round of 15-0s on. Don't skip anything, just one 15-0 through each sticking out 15-0, and that should pretty much secure our bezel. Okay, so do that all the way around and then meet me at the end and we'll continue. Okay, let's step up. So we're exiting this 15-0 on the bottom right here. So we're just going to sew through this one and then the one on the diagonal. Put on our last 15-0. Okay, and then we're going to move this thread a little bit. So I'm just going to sew through this bead and this bead. Just want it out of the way at the moment. We're going to sew it in a minute. I just want to show you what your point looks like. Now if you notice at the top, I have, there's my Delica right there at the top. There's my 15-0, then I have a 15-0 on either side. That's how it should look. Now if you're having trouble with your stone fitting, I noticed that I did 2 of these. So I noticed that this stone, it doesn't fit as well as this stone. Slightly different shape. So what you might have to do is, one, you might have to sort of adjust your beads at the top a little bit so that that sits that correctly. And then on the back, if you give it a pull, that will pull everything in, and you might have to add another round on the back, just of Charlotte's, of 15-0s, whatever it takes to get the stone to sit nicely. So I just played with it a little bit because it was a little bit loose at the top, but this one was perfect. So, you know, even slight differences in the same brand stone can make a difference in the bezel. So you might have to play with it a little bit, or you might have to put another round on the back. I don't have to put a round on the back, but you could. I'm trying to see if did I do it on the other one? No, I didn't do it on the other one. But you could if you need to, another round of 15-0s. All right, so there you go. Your bezel is done. We're going to actually, let's see, we'll continue with this one. You're going to sew in your front thread. So just, see, I remember I moved it to this Delica. I'm just going to sew through a few Delicas until it seems, you know, till it's sewn in a bit. You can go all the way around if you want. You can reverse direction, go on the diagonal like that. Make sure you don't get caught, just to tighten it up. And then you can either clip off that thread or save it depending on whatever thread is longer. So if your back thread, if you have to put another round on, your back thread's not going to be that long. If this one's the longer thread, I want you to hold on to it because we're going to, I don't know if I showed you this in the beginning, we're going to embellish the back. You see how the back's, this is the back of the necklace. We're going to embellish the back to keep this off your skin. All right, so we're going to put these pearls on here. So save one of the threads, whichever one is longer, and then when we come back, and then sew the other one in, and then when we come back, I'll show you how to embellish the back. Okay, we're back, so I'm going to embellish the back. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. You can just use some of that coating, you know, like nail polish, clear nail polish, or the special protective coating that you can get it on bead stores. But I like sort of like lifting it off the skin. I'm going to use a 3mm pearl and 15/0. You can use any 3mm. See how it lifts it so that that point, and none of this is on your skin. You can use any 3mm, maybe a Firepolished or a Druk. I just happen to have some pearls, so I'm going to put those on. So here, I'm on the back of my bezel. You've saved a thread, whichever it is, front, back. You're just going to move your thread over so you're exiting the last round of Delicas before your 15/0. So for me, that's this green one right here. I'm going to pick up a 15/0, a 3mm pearl, and a 15/0. Exiting here, I'm going to skip this one and sew through this one. Pick up a 15/0, 3mm pearl, and a 15/0. Exiting right here, skip, sew through this one. 15/0, 3mm pearl, 15/0. Exiting here, skip this one, sew through this one. Now I'm just going to take my needle and thread and sew through this other Delica. See those two? So I'm sewing through this one now without any beads on it. Now I'm going to start adding beads again. 15/0, 3mm, 15/0. Exiting here, skip this one, sew through this one. Okay, so you're going to do that all the way down, all the way around till you get to here, and then come back and we'll finish it off. Okay, getting close to the end, so I have these to put on. My last group, 15/0, pearl and a 15/0. Exiting here, skipping this one, and then I'm going through that original one we started, just like that. Get that on, and then you want to sew right up through this 15/0 and this pearl. Okay. All right, now you're going to take a 15/0 and you're going to put a 15/0 in between each pearl. So sewing from pearl to pearl. Try that again. Having trouble finding the hole. Here we go. 15/0. 15/0 through the next pearl. Just keep doing that, and you're pulling inward as you do it, as you put these on, and it's going to tighten it up. See how it pulls it together? If you're not using a pearl, if you're using maybe a little something a little bit smaller, or so, you might need an 11/0, but the pearl and the 15/0 seem to work out really beautifully. See how it pulls it in? See how this is more sticking out and this is coming in? So I'm just going to do that all the way around. And then I'm just going to put tie some knots in between, you know, the pearls and the 15/0s just to finish it off. So I'll just let you do that. So go all the way around and then keep going and just tie some half-hitch knots and then come on back. Okay, we're back, so it's done. And I ended up sewing through all my beads again, tying half-hitch knots around till it was nice and secure and pulled in. And this is what I have. This is what it looks like. Beautiful. Love it. Nice sturdy bezel. Not going to scratch your neck, or you're not going to get all sweaty because it's laying on your neck, on your skin. So we've done our bezel. So you're going to grab a whole bunch of 11/0 seed beads because we're going to start cubic right angle weave. All right, so stay with me and we'll get started. Okay, let's start some CRAW. So I switched to some 8/0 seed beads just because I think it will be easier for me to demonstrate with an 8/0. So thread your needle with, you can do up to 6 feet of thread. You're going to be adding thread to this chain. If you're a beginner and you're just practicing, just use a few feet. So I picked up 4 of my, yours are going to be 11/0 seed beads, and I'm just going to drop those down. I didn't put a stop bead on, I'm holding them. You're going to leave about a 10-inch tail. like that. And then we're just going to sew these into a circle. I'm going to sew through the first couple of beads like that. So then, you know, I've got actually a unit here. I'm going to sew through this one and this one. So I'm coming up to my tail thread, and then I'm going to tie a knot right here. So here I'm just going to go around. So I'm using the tail thread on the working thread to tie an overhand knot right there. I'm going to pull that guy super tight. And then I'm going to, you can even do 2 knots, maybe 1 if you're using 11, you know, because you're using 11 O's. I'm going to sew through the next bead. I'm going to sew through another one just to kind of get away from the knot a little bit. This is what I have. So you want this kind of unit just like this, and you want to have your thread coming out of this side bead. So here's top, bottom, one side, here's the other side. You want it coming out of the top of this bead. No, the bottom bead doesn't, the bottom thread doesn't matter, you know, the tail thread. So this is what you want. All right, we're going to add some beads on to make a cube. So I'm going to use the bead reamer to hold my beads in place. So this was shown to me by one of my viewers, and I just think it's brilliant. So I'm just putting that in right in the middle. See, I have my thread coming out of the top of this side bead here. I'm just going to turn the whole piece around. Let me just get it in my hand like this. All right. Let me just pull that on. There we go. All right. So if you notice, if I go back this way, that's where my thread is coming out up here. I'm just turning it this way because we're going to grow in this direction. We're going that way. So I'm just holding my finger on the piece and the bead reamer, and the bead, my thread is coming out of the bead that my thread is coming out of. I just have it sort of in line with the shaft of the bead reamer. Okay, pick up 3 of your 11 O's. You're going to just sew through the other side of the bead you're exiting. It's going to put one of the faces of the cube on. Like that. Now all you want to do is rotate your piece and then sew up that bead that's right above the bead you were exiting. Right here. And you see when I push that one up, how I'm getting a little corner there. All right. So let me pop this over. So just like that. You're going to pick up 2 of your 11 O's. You're going to sew through this bead and this bead. So we're going to make a little corner. We're going to make a whole unit. So we're going to go through this one, 1, and then this one, 2. Just like that. You see how I've made another face of my unit. I'm going to rotate my piece again, just holding it with my bead reamer, keeping this finger up there. And this is what I have. I have 2 beads here. I'm just going to sew directly through the bead that's right above the bead I was exiting. Okay. And I have these 2 beads. Pick up 2, sew through this one and this one, so 1, 2. That puts on another face. Rotating again, like that. I'm going to sew directly up through the bead that's right above the bead I'm exiting, so straight up. Now I have 3 beads right here, 1, 2, and 3. I need to add 1 here. So I'm just going to sew through this one. I'm going to pick up a bead. I'm going to sew through this one and this one. So here and here, 1, 2. I'm going to sew through the top one, like that. And now I have all 4 units on. However, 4 faces, and then 2 on the ends. However, we have to sew these beads we just put on here together. They're not, so let me turn it this way. Straighten it out. So you see how they don't have a thread between them, so they're all kind of wonky. You're just going to go through all of them. 1, 2. Through this one. through this one, and then back through this one. That's going to put a thread through every bead, okay? So when I turn it back this way, do you see how I'm exactly where I started from? And now I can put more units on. So this is just holding it on while you make that cube. So this is what it's going to look like. Flip it around, got a little cube going there. All right, so try this method, see if it works for you. If not, try some of the other methods that I've linked in the description box, because another method might work better for you. And then come back and we'll add some units on. Okay, let's add on a unit. And I'm just going to leave it on the bead reamer until it's big enough for me to hold it. Okay, so here, picking up 3, exiting here. You're always going in this direction, okay? Always going up. So here, sewing through the other side of the bead I'm exiting, put on one face of my unit. Just going to rotate and sew through the bead that's directly above the bead I'm exiting. See, I have that little corner going. Picking up 2, sewing through this one and this one. So 1, 2, we have another face on. It's easier to turn now because you have something to grab onto. Rotating, sewing up through the next bead that's right above the bead I'm exiting. So this one going above to this one. Now I have these 2 to make a unit out of. Picking up 2, sew through this one and this one. So 1, 2. Another unit on. Rotate again. Just going to sew right up through the next bead after the one I'm exiting. Now I have 3 beads on. 1, 2, 3. I need to put one here. I'm going to sew through this one. Picking up a bead. I'm going to sew through these 2. 1, 2. Back through this one on the top. Like that. And now I just have to connect the beads here. So come on, camera, stop blurring. There we go. Just going to connect all these beads through these 2, through these 2. Back through this one again, and I have 2 units on. See that? How cool is that, right? And you could just hold it on your reamer and hold your beads and keep adding units on until you get enough units to make one of the chains on your necklace. So you're going to end up making 4 of them, okay? So by the time you're done, you're gonna just be an expert at this. So make 4, and then we're gonna connect them at the ends. And it's very easy to connect them at the ends. You see how you can actually do a turn here, but it really it's easier just to connect. So we're gonna do it that way this time. So you see that? This is what you're gonna do. And believe it or not, it goes really fast once you start going. So for me to get my around 18-inch necklace, so I'm counting from this point here, I think I used about 40, I did about 46 of my cubic right angle weave units. And the way I counted was, I just counted the bottom beads. So I counted here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So just count this bottom bead until you have 46 of those if you want around an 18-inch necklace. Now you can adjust the ends. It's very forgiving. You can adjust the ends easily. So don't worry about it, but for like a sort of a basic 18-inch necklace, I used 46 units. So get all of your chains done and then come back and we'll connect them. Okay, we're back. So that was fun, wasn't it? I'm telling you, once you get it, I just love it. So we're gonna close the ends of 2 pieces. So you're gonna take 2 of your lengths and see how I've close the end here. So I put a unit in between these 2 to close it. So you're going to do that at both ends. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So here it is on this one. All right. So let's pull in super tight. Now what you want to make sure before you do anything, and I'll do it in a contrasting color so you can see where the beads are going. All right. So what you want to do here is you want to make sure that you're not twisting your piece. So you want to make sure that flat side is facing up. Now, first things first, I want you to put your thread in the right place. So you should be exiting probably this end bead right here. Just want you to sew through this one like that. So you're coming through a side bead right there. See that? Right through that guy. And then situate your piece. And if you weren't, you know, coming out where I showed you, just go around until you are coming out right there. All right. So here, I'm just making sure that my flat side is facing up. And it's so easy to twist this. What you can do is you can actually take a thread, like a contrasting color thread, and go through the top beads here and maybe here on the bottom, you know, just to straighten it out, and then pull the thread through a bit so it holds this part straight, and that way you only have to worry about the very ends. But you can also just, you know, just look at it and make sure. Once you get it connected, it's fine, but just make sure you're not going to twist. All right, so there you go. I'm looking pretty good. So the first thing I'm going to do, exiting that bead, and I'm going to pull in super, super, super tight. So I'm exiting right here. I'm going to pick up a bead, and I'm going to sew through this bead on the other piece. So exiting this one, sewing through this one, so going right across. I'm putting a bead on right there. And once you get that done, then you don't really have to worry about twisting it, but just always look and be sure. So when I pull that tight, see how I get a bead right there. So exiting this top bead, going to pick up another bead and go through this one. See how I'm creating a unit at the top by adding those two beads? Okay, just like that. So back through this one. Through this one. And I've got my first face of the cube on that I'm putting in between there. Okay, holding it like this, I'm just going to turn it around so it's facing me like this. So this is one of the beads I put on. And I'm exiting this bead. I'm just going to sew directly through this bead, the one right above it, like that. Going to pick up a bead. I'm going to sew through this one. So I'm just adding beads where they're, you know, to make units. See that? Then I'm going to sew back through this one and this one. So 1, 2. Now I have this face done. Turning it over this way. I'm going to sew directly through the bead that's right above the one I'm exiting. So I'm exiting this one right here. I'm going to sew through this one like that. Need a bead right here. Picking up a bead. I'm going to sew through this one. Back through this one. And through this one. Now I have 3 of my three sides connected. So three of the sides. So 1, 2, and 3. So I need to connect the ones inside. So I'm just going to let you get to this point, and then we'll open it up and we'll just connect the beads inside and we'll be done. Okay, this is where we are. So now you're just going to hold it like this and just let your pieces kind of flop over. And all you need to do, you don't have to add any beads. All you need to do is sew the beads together that are in the inside. So at the moment, I'm exiting this bead right here. When I turn this way, the next bead is just going to be the next one. Let me get that that straight. Okay, the next one right above the one I'm exiting, so it's going to be this one right here. So you're going to end up sewing these 4 beads together. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So go through this one. Through this one. Through this one. Back through this guy. Like that. And then let's go through this one again. Like that. And now you have sewn those 4 beads together in the center. Now let's just turn it over. Let's see what we have here. I'm just going to move my thread, so I'm exiting that interior bead right here. I'm just going to move my needle up here. Like that, give it a pull. And now my piece is connected, see, on all sides. So not hard, huh? Easy to do it this way. And so what you're going to do now is you're going to connect all 4, you know, you can connect all 4 pieces, so you have 2, you know, you have your double chain on either side like this. So do both sides and then come back and we'll start connecting everything. All right, see you in a few. Okay, we're back. So I have both my pieces done. So here's one I'm going to show you how we're going to do the end here. So we're going to work on this part right now. Just get it out of the way. So just a little note, I did twist my original piece, so I had to take it out and redo it. It didn't matter here. It just mattered when I was, this part. So yeah, it's very easy to twist it, so just be careful. All right, so you want to be exiting one of these end beads here, this one or this one. So I'm exiting right here. If you're not, just move your thread around until you are exiting there, or add a thread if you don't have enough thread, because we did leave a tail, right, like a 10-inch tail. Okay, one other design note, just for learning purposes. If I had been thinking in advance, I would have added a gold bead right here, because I'm going to put gold beads around here to where I clasp. So I'm going to be missing a gold bead. It's going to be green here, and the rest is going to be gold. So just a little design note. I wasn't thinking. And anyway, I'll share that with you. Okay, picking up a 3mm bicone, placing one right there, picking up another 3mm bicone, placing it here. Now I just want to sew around until I get back to this bicone. Actually, you can do it on either side. We can just come around like this. It doesn't really matter how you do it. You just want to sew on the diagonal so that you don't... just going to pop right through this one. Just going through the seed beads right now. There. There, you just don't want to, any thread showing, so you want to just sew everything on the diagonal, going through up these 2, turning it back around. I'm going to sew through this one, the bicone. So you see how I just did a little, and the seed bead in the middle on the bicone. That kind of really, put it on nice and tight. So now it's secure, we're sewn all around. So just get to that point and then we'll add some beads. Okay, so I'm exiting this 3mm bicone here. I'm gonna put on my needle and drop down an 11/0, a 4mm bicone, an 11/0, a 3, an 11/0, a 3, an 11/0, a 4, and an 11/0. So just like that. And you see where had I put a gold one here, it would have looked better. I tried it with the all turquoise, but I didn't like it. So we're just going to do it this way. All right, I'm just going to sew through those three beads again. So the bicone 11/0 and the bicone. Get my needle in there. This is what I have. I'm going to sew through the 11/0, the 4mm, the 11/0, the 3, the 11/0, the 3mm 11/0, and this one, and then there's these two. So you want to come out of that 3mm on the other side. So at this point, if you need a little extender on your necklace, if you need to make a little bit longer, and actually we're going to add this little bit on the end anyway, but you can add as many of these as you like. Just picking up an 11/0, 3mm bicone, 11/0, 3mm bicone, and an 11/0. I'm just going to go back through these guys like that. And this is where we're going to attach our clasp. And if, as I said, if you need, I'm just going around right now, coming through this one. I'm going to go back through these three. So if you need more space at the end, just keep adding those units on until it's long enough, so you can add as many as you like. Okay, I'm exiting this little bicone here. I'm going to pick up my 6mm pearl and I'm going to sew through this one and then write down these guys again. Getting a lot of thread in there. Might have to switch your needle, but it's good to have a nice secure end. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to sew up through these guys. So the 11/0 and the 4mm bicone. Back through these like that. And then you're just going to sew around again if you need to, and then sew your thread in. So you're going to do that on 2 ends. And then all you'll do at this point, which we'll do a little bit later, is you're going to add a jump ring and then your clasp. And that way you can change that clasp if you want, or if it comes off, it's not a big deal. All right, so get that done and then we'll move on. All right, just to show you the end, so this is what it looks like. I just put jump rings, a little bit of chain, you know, just a little extender. This is probably a little long, and added my clasp on the ends. My gold is not quite right, but you know, you get the idea. All right, so these two are ready to go for the other side, so we'll get to those in a minute. Let's sew the this unit together. So you want to make sure you're exiting one of your Delicas right at the top there. So not these 2 gold ones, but you see these 2 green ones on the side, or whatever color yours are. So you want to go through this one and this one. So here, so put on a thread, or if you happen to have a thread, move it there, or if it's there, that's even better. So I'm going to put it on this way. I'm going to attach these units. So all I'm going to do is attach with my 2mm fire polish. So I'm picking up a 2mm fire polish. I'm going to sew through the 2mm fire polish that's on my little unit, picking up another one and sewing through this Delica on the other side like that. And when you pull the unit together, this is what it looks like. So you're going to have this little unit right there. And as you sew around, so then you're just going to sew around. I'll just start in this direction. So sew around on the diagonal so that you're exiting the green one again, go around again, and make sure it's nice and secure. And that will just be your very simple connection, which I think looked the prettiest. All right, so get that done and then we'll connect the other sides. Okay, now we're going to connect this unit to here. So it's looking pretty good, huh? We're getting there. So we're going to use a 5mm pearl here and 3mm bicones all the way around. It's very similar to this connection, only we used a bigger pearl here. Now, if you don't want to use the 5mm, I know a lot of you don't want to buy 5mm. I just think you should have them. However, I guess you could use the 6mm connection. I just like this smaller connection right here. All right, so let's do it. So here is my little unit. I'm going to hold it this way. I'm going to connect through here. I'm exiting one of the bicones right here. If you need to add a thread, just add a thread if you need a thread, but you should have a couple threads left. So now we're just going to do that little unit. So 11/0, 3mm bicone, 11/0. So through this bicone, the 11/0 and the bicone over here, like that. 11/0, bicone, 11/0, back down through these 3. Let's get as many as you can at once. So 1, 2, 3. That's what it looks like. So there's my little unit. So if you did the estate bracelet, you're familiar with this. Now you can come around and reinforce so that it's nice and secure. Then we're going to pop our pearl in. So I'm just going to sew all the way around until I come out the other side again. Like that. I want to come out of this bicone down here, and then I want to pick up my 5mm pearl. Exiting here, I'm just going to sew through this bead. So the same bead on this side, only down through this direction, through all those beads again. Like that. Through this guy, which my hands are giving me a hard time. There we go. Okay, and then you have that on, and you can reinforce that again, and then you can sew this thread, and you don't need this thread anymore. So do it on the other side as well, and then come back, and we'll do our last connection right there. Okay, we're back, and we're in our last connection. So we're going to do this guy. Put this one aside. Here we go. So you're exiting the bicone on the end. You should have thread. If you don't, just add a thread. I'm going to pick up an 11/0, a 4mm bicone, and an 11/0. We're just going to sew through. See, of these three, we're going to sew through the first one. And we're going to pick up, get my thread a little longer there, pick up a 3mm bicone, sew through the next one. Pull 3mm through the next one. I'm just going to move my piece around a little bit. This is what I have so far. I'm going to pick up an 11/0, a 4mm bicone, and an 11/0 down these three. 1, 2, 3. To make our unit. Now we're going to sew around here so you can reinforce. So sew through just these three. There we go. So 3mm bicone, 11/0, 3mm bicone. Let me get that tight. I'm just going to go around one more time until I come out of this one. And then you're going to grab your 6mm pearl. Grab one. There we go. Pop that 6mm pearl. Exiting this 3mm. So you're exiting the bottom, come through the top of this one, sewing through the 3mm bicone, the 11/0, and then that 3mm bicone again. There we go. To pop the pearl into place. Come on, Mr. Pearl. There you go. Pearl's in place. And now you're just going to go through the 11/0 bicone 11/0, and you're just going to, at this point, tighten it up and sew around a little bit, and then sew your threads in. You can sew your threads in on the bezel, you can sew your threads in here, you can tie knots between the bicones, whatever, you know, it takes for you to get it nice and strong. All right, so get that done, and we're gonna finish up. Okay, we're back. So I just wanted to show you, before we finish up, I wanted to show you how to embellish the back of the estate bezel, because we didn't do that in the past. So I want you to be able to do this if you want to. So I'll just do it real quick. So you need a little thread with a stop bead and a tail to sew in. You're just going to, let me pull it super tight. Sew through this bead right here. So we're going to put a pearl in the corner. So I'm going to use this bead and this bead. So I'm just going to sew through this one. I'm going to pick up a 3mm pearl. You could probably use a fire polish here. And then I'm going to sew through the other bead. So here through this one, and then I'm going to sew through this one. Okay, just like that. And then I'm going to pick up 3 15-ohs, and I'm going to sew through this one right here to put another pearl in the corner. And then all you're going to do is pick up your pearl, sew through this guy to put another pearl in the corner. And that's what you're going to do all the way around. And then once you do that all the way around, you're going to go through all the beads again and pull it tight, and it's going to pull together just like that. All right, so get that done and then come on back and we'll finish up. Okay, we're back and we're done. So how fun was that? I know it was long, but lots of techniques. You can break this down. You can make a bracelet just out of this. You can make a necklace out of this. Don't add the little bezels. Just put this guy at the end. Don't put this guy at the end. Add, you know, I mean, you can do so many things. Add these little units along the top. You can even take a pearl and incorporate a pearl in between the two units. I thought of that, but I didn't want the video to be 100, you know, like 2 hours long. Anyway, another thing I love about this is that if you make it this way, I would wear this with a white button-down shirt and jeans in the summer, and spring and summer. How beautiful is that? And a straw hat. I think it would look so pretty. And this one, let's say, you know, you go into more of a fancy party or wedding, or I mean, I'd wear this with a button-down shirt and jeans anyway, but I'm saying depending on the beads you choose, can be much more casual or much more dressy. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.